What is good, ladies and gentlemen? What is good? Is your boy Cheats here from the Black Baseball Mixtape, and we have a special podcast that is happening on IG Live tonight. We're going to welcome in some very special guests to talk about a topic that's been filling out my comment section, filling out our clips. Shout out to the podcast crew. On Monday, we had a wonderful podcast discussion about all things that's happening in the offseason, hot stove. But one thing really sparked a lot of controversy, a lot of comments, a lot of feedback, and it's good. It was all positive. It was all within love. And it was a conversation about just basically elite black talent and their place in the game versus talented players that may not, have as much leash, may not have.
Can you be a mediocre black player in MLB? There are lots of mediocre white players. Can you be a mediocre black player in MLB, or you have to be elite or get the step in? Is that what it is?
I think you have to be elite or a prospect. So the best part about this is I'm bringing in not one, but two amazing experts to talk about this topic. And so this podcast is going to be a little bit more specific. I'm going to bring in our special guest in literally 1 minute. But before I do that, as all podcasts, we have to thank our wonderful sponsors here at the Black Baseball Mixtape. Shout out to Stilo Sports, the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest, and Number Game Scorecards. Make sure that you give some love to our sponsors as always. But I'm excited about this conversation because it's important. I'm going to not belabor the point. We've got some really, really great guests. I'm going to bring them in and I'm going to introduce them, and we're going to really get into it. Your comments, your questions are welcome. Feedback is welcome. So while we go through this discussion of black baseball and black excellence and what it means to get to some of the highest levels of the game, ask questions of these experts, man, because they're the guys that really know how to get it done. So I already see a couple of them in the chat. Welcome everyone. But I gotta bring in I gotta bring in the man himself. If you don't know who the man is on the screen, I'm gonna give the proper introduction. Let me make sure we get Lou in here as well. Hold on 1 second. But we about to do this, and he was just at the field. He was at the field. I want to say, yesterday y'all had it going in Atlanta, right? Would you call it the U, Coach?
Yeah, for sure, man. Reading High School, man.
A lot of history there with you.
A lot of history just in general, man. You talk about black baseball, man. So, high school baseball kicking off, man. So I'm happy.
We about to get into it, Coach. Let me bring in. All right, there's as our other special guest. Welcome.
We gotta switch the camera. Hold on,
Change
1 second.
it up, Lou. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna introduce these wonderful brothers that, like I said, sometimes when you are building in this place and you're doing commentary and you're doing live podcasts and you answer some questions, they always tell you not to read the comments because the comments, it don't matter who you are. You can know it's sunny outside and they walk out and tell you it's raining. But I will tell you about the two brothers that is gonna have this I'm gonna have this conversation with. But they're experts, man. They're experts, and they're not experts because you got it, Lou, right there. They're experts not because I'm telling you they're experts or they tell you they're experts. They're experts because they've got the living experience, they've got the history, they've got the track record to really have authority in what they're talking about, playing at every level, getting kids at every level, all the way up to the pros. So without further ado, I want to introduce Coach Alex Wyche, who we were just talking about, legendary coach over Redan. He's built the last couple of years now Minority Baseball Prospects, which is the largest repository, database, whatever you want to call it, of minority baseball and softball players in the country. They're doing All-American games all over the country. So when I say that they know Coach Alex knows what it takes to get a player to the next level, he's seen it at every level. Coach Alex is that man. Coach, I think you might be freezing, but welcome to the mixtape as always. Welcome back to the mixtape. Can you hear me, Coach? Here you go.
My bad, man. I don't know why my server's
Come
acting
on,
up.
I
I don't
got
know
you.
come on,
if it's
man.
me.
You just missed your wonderful introduction.
Man,
But look, but
it's
I'm gonna
all
get
love.
right to it because again, I see the Broward on his hat. Lewis squared away as well. Lewis Brinson. When we were having this discussion earlier in the week, we were talking about certain things that came up, and I don't do this. I don't know why people do this, but people do this. And they'll tag other people in the comments and be like, "Look, they had nothing to do right now directly with the conversation." And one of the things that I laughed because I was like, they don't know that I know Lou because they were tagging Lewis Brinson in some comments about just baseball players in general. And so, Lou, like I said, you played at every level. You've been
Hmm.
through it. You're an expert at it. So I am ecstatic and excited to have this conversation with both of you. I'm going to start with Coach Weiss because, like I said, with minority baseball prospects, he has seen talent at every
For
level. At every
sure.
level, he knows what it takes to get your player to the next level. And the conversation we had, and I want to preference it with this: the conversation we were having was, is there room in 2025 for black baseball players at the major league level? That I guess the word we used was mediocre, and I know that's the wrong word. Hold on one second. Yeah, I know that's the wrong word. I want to clean that up really quick because if you're in Major League Baseball, there's no such thing as a mediocre Major League Baseball player. You're extremely talented.
Hmm.
I do get that. But what I think what we were really alluding to for especially our black brothers and sisters that are playing the game, that there is less of an appetite, less of ability to stick, if you will, lack of a better term, coach, if you don't have elite talent. So it was like the question that was really coming up was like, you either have to have elite prospect talent or, being proven to be elite because, again, we're not that much of the game, especially at the higher levels. And I think the question I'm asking you, coach, and I'm going to frame it this way. I was always told growing up by being a black athlete or a black person in life, you had to be 4, 5, 6 times better than your counterparts just to get the opportunity.
For sure.
And
Hmm.
as we go through, I wonder if that is this 2025 experience at every level for what you're seeing still, the players that get the opportunities, especially players that look like you and I. Do you feel there's still kind of a situation for our players that they can't just be average. They have to be leaps and bounds better.
Yeah, if we just talk about the college rim and the pro rim, when you talk about, big leagues, I think it's just gonna fall back to production. Um, I think production is the biggest thing. I don't think it's much of
Hmm.
taking opportunities on guys who have plus arms or plus speed. Like, back in the day, I think it's more production. If you look at the Tommy Phams of the world who still getting opportunities, it's because when he get in the playoffs, he's getting hits. Right. When we talk about college, especially the college is kind of like the baby minor leagues, right? And if you look at the numbers in colleges, it's just as few as in big leagues or even less, right? But it's all about who can help the team win, right? So it's really for us. It's really not about, hey man, this man may have potential, or he may be have some things to develop, and we got time. I think time is less of the essence. It's more of how can this kid help me win or produce or be an asset or tradable assets or at that point. So for me, it's not mediocre guys. It's who can be serviceable and come in and produce.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Lou, I want to bring you in on that because you've seen it at every level. Obviously, we don't have to go through your credentials, but extremely talented player at a lot of levels. When it comes down to production, because I
Hmm.
agree with Coach on the production aspect of it, from what you've seen, because I think that's another part of the question. And I don't want to be jumping too far ahead,
Hmm.
but do you feel as if uh, like players like yourself, players like you mentioned, like Tommy Pham, who does, those guys produce everywhere. But
Hmm.
do we feel like there's a challenge, like we have a shorter leash, if you will, when it comes to production and having the opportunity to produce and be successful?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Chief, appreciate you bringing me on, man.
Oh, the
But
home team. This home team, bro.
yeah, bro, I
We
got
do
the
this
home
all the
team
time.
fit on right now. But as far as the question and the conversation, yeah, I mean, anybody that's in the big leagues has to produce to stay
For
up
sure.
there. Easy thing is to make it to the big leagues. Hardest thing is to stay up there. I think everybody has heard that phrase before, but it's true. It's very, very hard to stick and stay in the big leagues. But if you're productive, regardless of your color, you're going to stay up there. Now, as far as being a black player in baseball, I think, and this is controversial, I think that you get a tag put on you. And what I mean by that is when you're a certain caliber or certain type of person, or maybe a certain type of player, teams might automatically put that he's uncoachable,
For sure.
he is a rebel, he's loud, he's outspoken, he's raw, whatever these terms that they come up for black players, they already have that tag on you. So if you're already having that tag and you kind of prove them right on that, you do something in the clubhouse, you say something slick to a coach or to a minor league coordinator or whatever the case may be, and you're not producing, they're like, nah, we're not dealing with that. You're not putting up the numbers, and you're already proving us right in what we think you already are. Now, do I think you should have that kind of persona of a black baseball player at the start? No, just the way it is, though. I mean, it's been that way forever, and I've seen it with guys that I played against, guys that I played with. Great players, amazing players. They'll get to the big leagues and they struggle a little bit, and it's like, well, we got to move on.
Yeah.
And I think it's the move on aspect of it is a little bit quicker for black baseball players. But I will say this: the guys like Tommy Pham, guys like Tim Anderson, that get opportunities and keep getting opportunities. Tim Anderson was a batting title, won
For
the
sure.
batting title in 2019.
Yeah.
Tommy Pham is a amazing baseball player, like amazing big league baseball player, and I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit. And I'm not just saying that because I know Tommy and I respect the hell out of Tommy Pham, but you just go look at the numbers and you look at him play, he's a gritty, he's a grindy. He likes to play the game at 100%, no matter how he's feeling that day or what might be hurting on him, or if he's struggling. Like, he's gonna try to figure it out and try to produce. But guys like that, those guys produce and have produced in the big leagues. Now they have a longer leash to be able to struggle, so to speak,
sure.
up there. Yeah, for sure.
I think you bring up a great point, Lou, and Alex as well, because I want to go back to, because there is a lot of parents with kids that are playing that are listening to this conversation or will listen to this conversation. And so that leash aspect of it, Lou, you talk about is vital, especially when you talk about the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
There, you got to produce, or there's less of a leash.
Right.
Coach Wyche, do you see that at every level? Because we got parents in high school, we got parents, with kids that were highly rated in college, but they find themselves on the outside, if you will, of their situation, and I am wondering, is that something that you've seen at every level that kind of follows a black baseball player? That leash may not be as extended as long as it is for others.
Yeah. It either, you can say black or just, I'm gonna say character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black, red, or blue is more for me is character, and what type of teammate, man. I think that means a lot in all aspects. If we talk about pro ball, minor league ball, or college, a coach, that's me being a coach. You know what I mean? You don't say it, but they have favorites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Managers have favorites, and they're gonna give a guy a little bit more leash, or they're gonna go to bat for a guy that they feel like have high character, or guys who are good in the clubhouse who may struggle a little bit, but hey, he's on time at practice. He's gonna help out the next man.
He's trying to get
He's not
better. he's struggling.
He's not gonna
Yeah.
pout in the dugout because he's not playing.
Yeah.
He's gonna pick him up. He's gonna go play catch. So for me, man, it's the high character guys that's gonna get that extra push. You hope it's that black guy or that black kid. If just giving an example of those college guys that we see that's playing now, like the R.J. Austins, right? He just a
Jordan
guy.
Hagee. Yep.
He can go to Corbin and say, hey man, no, this is my draft year. I need to play center field. That's my best chance of being drafted, right? But he's gonna do whatever it takes to help out that team. So Corb's gonna have more passion. So when them scouts come, he's gonna push them,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the end of the day. So for me, I always see favoritism on guys who have high character. Um, and color always gonna play a part because most of the time the coaches aren't black, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I can't relate to Lou if he has a bad day or he has family issues or something going on. So I'm just gonna keep moving, right? So I think that plays a part also with us not having black managers and black coaches that can relate to these guys that may have a little issues off the field and try to reel them in because those sometimes end up being your best guys,
Mm-hmm.
character wise when you can relate to them. So if I can't relate to him, character may be left, but he's really a good kid.
Lou, that's a great question because you played
Yeah.
all over. You played all over, and you played overseas as well.
Yeah.
In your kind of career and tenure playing, did you have a lot of black managers, a lot of black coaches that you felt like you could relate to when things may not be necessarily going your way?
I mean, I didn't have a lot, but I did have some, and I have the utmost respect for these guys. KJ, James Rowson, hitting coach for the Yankees right now. Donzel McDonald, I had him. He was my first hitting coach ever in pro ball, and rookie ball with the Rangers. Yeah, I could definitely relate to those guys. I could go and talk to those guys through my issues, through my problems. If I didn't get something, or maybe somebody said something and I just didn't understand it, they'll explain it the way I can understand it. Or they were just there for me. They would literally, give me their number. Hey man, let's go to dinner. Or if you need anything, let me know. Definitely. I mean, all coaches are like that, but you just have a different relationship with black coaches. It's just the way it is. Black kids that get drafted, they gravitate more towards the black coaches usually just because you look like me. You're the only guy. Sometimes you're the only dude that looks like me in this clubhouse. So you might be the only guy that I feel comfortable talking to, or expressing my issues or expressing my problems with. Especially if it's a hitting coach. Hitting coaches are psychologists in all aspects. You know what I'm saying? And those are like mentors, and those are mental skills coaches, because hitting is such a mental game. If your hitting coach is black and I'm black, what I'm saying, I'm pretty happy. Not just for the fact that he's black, just he can understand what I'm going through. He can pick my brain, and he probably went through the same thing if he played at the highest level. So I did have some, like I said, those men I appreciate and I respect the hell out of them. And any problems or anything I was going through, they could word it the way I would want my uncle to refer it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I did. I had a good amount, but not a lot.
But those coaches and those mentors made a big
100%.
difference in regards to how
100%.
I'm real interested too because you're a player, Lou, that obviously tasted the major leagues, played in the major leagues,
Mm-hmm.
but also played in affiliate ball and other places. And I always wonder about this question when we talk about, like we said, opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously black baseball, we know it well because we all kind of feel like, especially in the last couple of years, we've gotten apart to be a part of this brotherhood, and we see a real brotherhood amongst our players. Was there ever a thought to you, Lou, was like, man, they ain't gonna have but so many of us on the team if I get if I get up, or you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I think of this is just reality because I do a lot of the numbers. But just last season, I was looking at a player like Akil Baddoo and Justin Henry Malloy.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like on the Tigers, when one of them went up, one of them went down.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were both up at the same time on the same team.
Right.
Did you ever kind of keep things like that in your mind? Like, man, they're pulling up another player that looks like me as a black player or a brown or an Afro Latino player.
Yeah.
A bunch of us ain't gonna be on this team.
Yeah, I've never experienced that. I'm going to be very honest. I've had every opportunity to succeed in the minor leagues. I was a first rounder. I had to make it to the big
For
leagues.
sure.
And that is very true in that aspect. They give, those first compensation rounds, those second, third rounders, they give them extra opportunity no matter what color
Yep.
you are,
For sure.
or where you come from. They give those guys extra opportunities than, how many rounds we got now? 25?
20.
Yeah,
It's
20.
very
they literally
20?
reduced it. Yeah, they cut it
Yeah,
down.
they
20.
reduced it a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that 20th rounder, they're going to give me, way more opportunity than
For
that
sure.
guy. I'm going to have a lot of,
That is true, though.
yeah, I'm going to have a lot more chances to struggle. I'm going to have a lot more chances to act up. I'm going to have a lot more chances to miss the bus. I'm going to have a lot more chances to not show up to a meeting. Regardless of what it is, I'm going to have more chances than that guy.
Yeah.
So as a first round, I did everything right. I was a yes man, too much of a yes man, in my opinion, early on in my career.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, no, way too much of a yes man early on in my career. But I did everything by the book. I did everything that the coaches asked me to. I followed the rules. I never really had a really disciplinary type of thing happen to me. Like I said, I had every opportunity to succeed. I did in the minor leagues. I got to the big leagues because of my talent and because of I was dominating AAA, and they brought me up with the Brewers. So regardless of who you are, black, white, purple, red, you need to dominate
sure.
every level. We can get to a little into that later, but in my opinion, you need to dominate, at least AA and AAA before you get to the big leagues.
Yeah.
No matter what round you're in, you got drafted in.
Now, but Coach Lou brings up a great point because we see players that are older now, maybe retired players, and they'll be like, "Oh, I was a 17th round pick, or I was a 15th round pick." I feel like some of that has changed in time because of the investment they place in the earlier round picks, right? The signing bonuses and the investment. I feel like Lou was saying, those investment gives you more more of a leash, more
Right.
of an opportunity to be successful, and you don't see as many later round success stories unless, like you were saying, they got to be
They're dominating.
dominated on the production.
And even
Yeah.
even if
Sure.
they are, sometimes it takes them an extra year. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
Just because they're dominating is like, oh, you're dominating, but you got sent back to AA. It's
Yeah.
like I hit 330 with 25 and 80 some RBIs, and they sent me back. It's like, but okay, where'd you get drafted? Oh, I got drafted in the 18th round. Okay, it
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, it sucks, but it's just the way
Yeah.
it is.
It's the money invested.
Yeah.
When I got a scouting department,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, "Hey, I got this first round. I'm gonna give him
Yeah.
$5 million, and I got a guy. I'm gonna give 1,000. He gonna have a shorter lease." That's the same thing in college, though. My coach.
Tell me about that, Coach,
It,
because
it, it,
Yeah.
that's a good
it,
point.
it's the same thing. If I'm in college, my college coach told me, "Hey, I got you on scholarship. I got this other kid. He's a walk on. I can't look stupid. I gave you
Yeah.
money. You got to play unless he just come in and dominates. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So, like Lou said, you got to come in no matter what round. You got to come in and dominate. But those
Right.
top guys are really going to get opportunities more because it's the money invested. If I put $1 million into a guy, I'm gonna look stupid as a organization. If this guy who I gave $1,000 makes it to the big league before this guy, that mean I can't scout.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to look at it as a business. I think sometimes we don't look at the game as a business and as an organization. It's a business. So if I'm putting 10 million, $1 billion into scouting and it's not looking right, and all my guys at the lower levels are making it, I'm doing it wrong.
Somebody got to
Somebody
go.
got to
Somebody
get
got
fired,
to
man.
go.
Somebody got
And
to
that's
go.
the good thing about that, Coach, too. That's life. I mean, I'm
Sure.
already picking up on
Mm.
some themes. Shout out to Coach Marvin Freeman too. I saw Coach Marvin in the chat that logged on for a second.
For sure.
If he wants to give some game, he's welcome to do so. I think Jay Jack and a couple other folks as well if they wanted to join in, but. A couple of themes that I'm picking up on that I really want to highlight for folks that are just joining. It's the high character guys, right?
For
The
sure.
guys that you mentioned that's willing to
Mm.
do anything, seems to have the longer leash, get the more opportunities because not necessarily because obviously they're talented players. Again, we're always talking about talented players,
Right.
but the players that are willing to be coachable, do that extra thing that makes that falls into the category that puts them on the radar, right? To be a player that you can push and have confidence in. I'm hearing that. I'm hearing production over everything. Production
Mm.
over everything. So when
For
you
sure.
get to every level of the game, you gotta produce.
Yeah.
You gotta dominate those levels. And so, Lou, I want to ask you because I also wanted to serve as a teachable moment. You said at some points in your career, I don't think you used the word too coachable, but maybe too amenable or
Too much
too
of a
uh,
yes man.
too
Yeah,
much of a
sure.
yes man. Talk to me about that, and Coach, you can weigh in as well
For sure.
if we've seen that throughout, kind of what you've seen in baseball as well. What do you mean by that, Lou? And do it in a way that we can, if there's parents listening or players
Yeah.
listening, so they can understand. Because I don't want them to go back to their coach and be like, "I'm being too much of a yes." You know what I mean? I want it to be educational, Lou.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so I mean, early on in my career, I wanted to. I mean, who doesn't? But I mean, throughout my minor league career, I wanted to do anything. I was willing to do anything to get to the big leagues. That was my dream. That was my passion. That's why I got drafted. That's why I'm playing. That's why I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? I want to get the hell out of where was it? High desert. I want to get the hell out of Hickory. I want to get the hell out of these places that I've never heard of, and I want to get to the big leagues. And I was willing to do anything. I was willing to stay after. I was willing to go hit in the cage with a certain coach that, hey, man, I see some, come talk to me after practice. All right, cool. I'll be there. And then we go ahead and change my whole swing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll try that. Oh, I look like this. Oh, yeah, I'll hit like this. Yeah. Yeah, I'll show up at, 9 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game to work out and show that I'm, you know, that I'm dedicated, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But in that kind of sense, you have to be coachable. You have to have good character. You have to be a good clubhouse guy. No matter what round you got drafted in, no matter anything, you need to be a good dude at the end of the day. People have to want you on their team. Kid or coaches have to want you, in the lineup every day. I do mean that, but at a certain point, you have to take control of your career. As soon as I started to take control of my career, that's when I kind of skyrocketed up the system, and I learned myself. Ultimately, I had a bad year. I can remember, what was it, 2014. I had got sent back to Low A. I was in Hickory, North Carolina. I got sent back. I didn't have a great year. My first full season, hit a bunch of homers, but I struck out a bunch. Didn't hit for a high average. 2014 gets sent back to Hickory. First half of the season, I kill it, hit 330. All-Star break, I move up to Myrtle Beach, which is high A at the time for the Rangers. I kill it there. We go to the playoffs. We go to the final, I think the high A finals, whatever, championship series, and we lose. But great season ultimately. The next year, I'm going in the offseason. I'm like, man, I need to do whatever the hell I was doing, that year. And maybe if I struggle a little bit, not just jump off, just jump ship and completely change my swing and the way I think and whatever the case may be. So I went into spring training and I told the head hitting coordinator, I'm like, hey, listen, first day in the cage, I'm like, hey, listen, man, before we get started, this year, let me fail on my own. If I'm going to fail, let me fail how I want, not how I want to fail, but, let me go down swinging my way. Instead of if I start to struggle in April, and then the hitting coordinator comes in and like, hey, man, so-and-so's in town. He wants to talk to you. All right, cool. Let's go sit down and change everything again. So I just had to take control of that year. I almost won player of the year in the minor leagues. And then I got traded the next year, and the year after that, I made to the big leagues. But when I started to take control of my career, and what I mean by that is, don't be afraid to talk to these coaches. Don't be afraid to. You are a grown man, not a grown ass man, but you're a grown man, making money, and you have a job to do. This is your job. You're coming to work every day, and these guys, yes, are their coaches, but they're not your parents. We have to be able, as black, purple, brown, white guys, we have to be able to talk to our coaches, talk to our managers, be able to go up to the kid and go, hey, man, I'm not feeling this. What we talked about yesterday, I'm really not feeling this, man. It's not working for me. This isn't what I worked on. Can we work on what I had worked on and what I had success on last year? Like, don't be afraid to go up to these coaches and talk to them and speak your mind.
Hey Lou, everything you said hits it right on the head, hits a hammer on the nail.
Yeah.
But it also goes a little bit back to what we were just talking about, right, Coach? About that comfortability with the coaches.
Yeah.
If the coaches don't look like you and don't relate to you, and so forth, that conversation's harder, right, Lou?
Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, you still got
You
to
got to do it.
talk
You
to
got to
them.
do it.
You got to
Real,
do it. You know what I'm
real
saying? You
quick,
can't make the excuse all the time.
we brought in a distinguished guest, and I don't know how long I have him, so I want to make sure that everybody knows one of the legendary coaches, mentors, obviously longtime Major League Baseball pitcher, Coach Marvin Freeman, is on the mixtape right now. He knows these other two guys real well. He knows Coach Alex and Lou, and I've met Coach Freeman a couple times. I really appreciate it. But Coach is really changing as all the wonderful things that Coach has done in his pitching career, he's really changing the landscape for a lot of black baseball players in his region and across the country with the work that he does and the mentoring he does. Coach, while I have you, I did want to have you ask about the topic at hand before we go back into some of the other conversation. And that topic, Coach, was as black players, black baseball players, especially at the highest levels, we were trying to. What have you seen throughout you, especially your mentorship, gives them the best opportunity to be successful at those high levels where there's only 6% of us at the game or 5% of us playing in the game? What characteristics, what drive, what have you seen that kind of gives black players the best advantage of sticking and being one of those very few small percentages at the highest levels?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I talk to the pitchers that I work with is you got to be able to execute. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get a lot of opportunities to make the same mistakes over and over again, and you may only get one shot at it. And then when you get that opportunity, you got to cash in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, we feel like it's a level playing field, but it's not. And we have to go out there and just be just as good as anybody else that's competing for the same job, but that's not true. We may be doing the same job or even better, but we got to do it longer. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to get one opportunity to screw it up, and then it's going to be the next man in line. If you see how the game is going, you might see one black pitcher on every team, and that's if you're lucky.
There's not one
Mm-hmm.
black pitcher on every major league team.
That's
Not at
what I
all.
Yeah.
mean. I mean, back when I was playing, it was at
Yeah.
least two, maybe three on the team. So we can kind of congregate in the outfield and talk about, hey, man, look, there's only two of us. We got to make sure we taking care of each other. You know, you had somebody to talk to. You had somebody that you could relate with on other teams. You had somebody to go out to dinner with when you go on the road, and some things
Mm-hmm.
you can talk about that you just couldn't talk about in the clubhouse because some things may be a little bit delicate. But right now, you know, the way things go, first of all, for you to even get in the door as a black pitcher, you got to throw 95 miles an hour. I
Mm.
mean, you know, I tell guys all the time, velocity gets you in the door, but learning how to pitch keeps you in the house.
Yeah.
So if you get in the door as a guy that throws hard, then you're only going to get one opportunity, or maybe two if you're a high pick, like Alex was saying earlier. The higher pick you
More
go, the more opportunities you
opportunity.
may get. But what I'm talking about with my guys is that you have to understand that some things that they tell you as far as the analytics go don't really apply to the end result. And the end result is you got to get guys out.
Mm.
You ain't getting guys out. I don't care what your velo and spin rate and brake force and all of that stuff means. It don't mean nothing because at the end of the day, what's on the back of your baseball card after the season is what's going to determine how they view you.
There you go.
Coach, you tell a great
Mm-hmm.
story about Taj Bradley, and we talked about it on the podcast before. But he seems to be the anomaly when we say, oh, he wanted to play other positions, and you were like, yo, nah, bro, you were a picture. As we look again at the top levels of the game, especially with black pitchers, they just seem. It just seems like it's getting less and less. There's less black pitchers today in the major leagues than when Coach Freeman was playing.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, is it Coach Wyche? Is it because they, organizations, management, coaches see an athlete and change them and say you're not a pitcher, you're going to be a center fielder? Like, does that happen more than other players in other positions?
I'm not gonna say that. I think, at the end of the day, they want more arms. But like Marvin, like Marvin said, man, you just when you get in those minor leagues or college ball, you got to understand. And what Lou said, you got to understand what makes sense and who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you talk about coaches, like Marvin was saying with the analytical guys or whatever. When Todd was in the minor leagues, he ain't understand that. He ain't understand that much starting off, right? But when he's going to Marvin and these different guys that he can trust, and they talking about outs and understanding what they're saying to him, now it makes sense, right? So the biggest thing I think what Marvin and Marquise Grissom and Luke Collier are doing, they getting these guys, in the summers and being able to talk to those guys and they're just not hearing jargon, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Lou said, I can go to a hitting coach, man. You never know if minor league or not. These hitting coaches are guys they might not been big leaguers. They may be analytical guys, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they come to you and telling you this different stuff that may not apply to you. They might tell Chandler Simpson he need to be a power guy. And he's not a power guy right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he might have a bad season, right? Because he's trying to appease, the coaches and move up, right? But if you be yourself, like he batted 400, he led, so things like that. I
Over
had
100 stolen bases for Chandler.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had a kid, Cornelius Randolph, that was a top 10 pick, right? He was a gap to gap guy, showed some power, but the power is gonna come as he aged, right? But when you get in the minor league system, you go first round, they want to see bums early,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
right? Kind of for me, what I saw is it kind of messed up his head and messed up his swing, which made him not be productive and changed the whole type of hitter he was. Right. So you just like Lou said, man, you got to know who
You
take
got to
some
figure
of
it
it,
out.
apply some
You
of
got to
it.
figure it out.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean, and just know yourself a little bit more, man, and find those guys and those coaches that you really trust in that can really steer you in the right direction. You know what I mean? You got to find those guys that look like you that don't have nothing to lose, right? They don't have anything to gain. Only thing they want to do is see you successful and listen to those guys so they can help you move up.
We had a
Absolutely.
we had a good question in the chat too, because I do focus on like roster construction at every level. Like I've got spreadsheets on double A teams, triple A teams, and the guys that are ultimately gonna play in Major League Baseball. We've got numbers now in college. I know Coach Weiss knows, Coach Freeman knows the numbers in college are changing
For sure.
dramatically and very quickly. And so we did get a question about black catchers. We were a couple of us were in December. We were out at the Don't Blink Home Run Derby. Got a chance to talk to Chucky Robinson, who's now over at the Angels organizations. But we asked him about being a catcher and black catchers and so forth. As you've gone through MLB Develop, Coach Freeman, you've gone through Alex, everything with minority baseball prospects. Are you seeing more black catchers in the game, more talented players that ultimately will help kind of populate the pipeline?
You want to from what I've seen is that through MLB develops, there's a lot of guys that's actually trying to be catchers, but at some point you see a drop off because I don't think the trust is coming from the upper levels like the colleges. I remember back when I was coming up as a pitcher, people couldn't believe I was a pitcher because they didn't think I had the intellect. They didn't think I was smart enough to remember the things that was necessary to be a pitcher. And it was that kind of like that old fallacy where, you can't be a black
Black
quarterback.
quarterbacks. Yep.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
now, what do you see now? I mean, we
Nothing,
going to the Super Bowl.
nothing but black
Every
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
quarterback
Nothing back.
out there, you got
Nothing
to have
back.
certain
Yeah.
kind of skill sets. You better be able to run.
Mm-hmm.
You better be able to think. You better be able to throw. So I don't let those kind of labels determine the kind of player that I think I can be. And I always encourage when I see a catcher that's a black catcher, he's trying to make his way up through the ranks. I kind of give him the information and understanding that you still got to be twice as good.
For sure.
It's not fair, but that's what it is. I mean, if you think you're going to get the same opportunities, you're not. And you're going to get doubts placed on you just because of your skin color. But you can overcome that if you know that going in. If you know going in, you got some, obstacles that you got to climb over, then you got to be willing to do that. And catching is probably the toughest position on the field besides pitching. I mean, come on, you squatting down for 9 innings, catching balls in the dirt. You got an umpire leaning over your back. And pitcher, for me, I,
Guy
I
probably
wanted to
stank.
make it. I tried to make it as easy as I could on the catcher because I told him, "Hey, don't come out here and talk to me because when you come out here, I know I'm in trouble. That means you trying to calm me down." So, but the catcher's got to be almost a psychologist. He's got to worry about hitting. He's got to handle 15 pitchers, and then he's got to worry about his job if somebody else is chasing it.
Yeah.
So it's really a tough position. And, you know, I just kind of do everything I can to make sure that the pitchers appreciate the catchers that they're throwing to. They thank them for blocking balls in the dirt, which is encouraging these guys to, work harder. And it makes the pitcher better when the pitcher knows that a catcher is going to do things to help him look good.
Hmm.
So it's a tough position, man. And I try to encourage every catcher that's back there that, hey, look, it's always going to be a need for you. And if you're good at your skill set, you're going to be around a long time. So, with that catching position, man, I don't know who was the last catcher we saw in the big league with any significant amount of time. Charles Johnson, Russell
Charles
Martin.
Johnson,
Yeah, Charles
Russell
Johnson
So
is.
Martin. Yeah,
how long has that been? I mean,
Yeah.
come on now.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah, so black. You're right. You're right, Lou. Black American would be Charles Johnson, last starting everyday black catching All Star. Then Russell Martin is also Black Canadian as well.
Oh, he
Before,
Drake of the catchers.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go, Alex. I'm gonna ask you, Coach Weiss, because again, like you said, you see so many players.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
see so many of our players at such a high level. Do you think the tide is turning on both pitchers and catchers, or no?
Uh, no, because it's not the sexy job. You know what I mean? You can't really out athleticize a person at the catcher and in the arms, right? So if I have a camp, say I'm in Alabama this weekend, we do a camp with 1,000 kids. You may have 10 catchers and 10 pitchers. You feel
Mm-hmm.
me?
Mm,
Hmm.
It's just not a sexy job that most black kids want to do. Like Marvin said, catching is freaking hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get hit with that ball in the game 5 or 6 times and it's gonna hurt. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? You got to be a hard nosed guy, mentally and physically. Same thing with pitching. Pitching is freaking hard,
mm,
right? It's hard to throw strikes, especially when runners on or it's a big crowd. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
hard. So for us, I just feel like we got to get a bigger pool of catchers and pitchers just in general so that we can grow it and make it fun. We need a cool catcher. We need
Hmm.
a catcher that has that that make it cool so that
For
kids want
real.
to catch. I don't have kids that want to say, hey, man, I want to catch, man. I'm a diehard catcher. And when I do have that catcher, I'm like, man, I'm in love with him, and everybody is.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
we got to make a bigger pool of catchers and pitchers because at the end of the day, if we see the downfall of I'm gonna say HBCU or high school baseball, what it comes down to if you
Hmm.
watch that, it's gonna be catching and pitching.
Mm,
It ain't usually the shortstops or outfielders. 9 times out of 10, they either have a catcher that can't block or can't throw nobody out or not really that athletic, or you got a pitcher that can't throw strikes. So if we don't start at those 2 points, we're gonna be at a situation where when will be the next Hall of Fame pitcher? Or when will it be the next Hall of Fame? Catcher that that'll be in the big leagues, man.
Yeah.
Name one that's in college. Shit, we're one in power four,
So,
right?
Yeah.
basically, that's going to start at the lower levels,
For
man. I'm,
sure.
I'm talking 12, 11, 12,
Yep.
13 with the
yeah.
Hmm.
coaching.
Yep.
What I see mostly is that these kids don't have the proper instruction growing up.
Yep.
And so by the time if they want to catch at 10, 12 years old, their heart is in it, but they're not getting the right information, they're not getting the right instruction. So it gets harder when you don't really
Yep.
have an idea what you're doing. And
Yep.
anything that you do in baseball, if you're getting the right information, the accurate information, it's going to
Yeah.
just improve you. It's going to kind of like mesh with your athletic ability. It's going to mesh with your ability to want to keep getting better because
Hmm.
you're working on the right things and you're going to see the results in game situations. But if you don't have anybody to teach you and you're going out there trying to figure it out on your own, it gets really hard. It gets really tough. And that's when you're going to see guys from age 13, 14, when it starts moving back to 60 feet, 6 inches, start to go play another position. Because, if I don't know what I'm doing wrong on the mound and I'm out here trying to figure it out on my own, I'm gonna try something else because it's just so hard to. Those two positions are so specialized and they're so in high demand that if you're good at it, everybody gonna want it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
lot of times guys can't get. How many catching coaches that's adequate enough to give guys a regimen of catching drills. Most of the pitching guys out here are really focusing on teaching guys how to throw with velocity. And I tell kids all the time, it really doesn't matter how hard you throw. If you can throw strikes, move the ball around, and change speeds at 12 years old, as you get bigger and stronger, you're going to start to grow physically and you're going to get more velocity. But if that's your focus, then you're missing the boat on learning how to pitch.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to pitch, I don't care how good your fastball is. Like I say all the time, and I think I'm going to get a T-shirt made out of this. A fastball alone will get you sent home.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Fastball will get you
because
sent
we get
home.
hit
Absolutely.
fastballs up
Oh,
there.
yeah. I
We
mean,
get
look,
them
how many times you go to the
all
cage and
day.
you tell them to set it up on a 92-mile-an-hour slider breaking down and away? You ain't trying
Towards
to
the end of
work
my
on
career,
that.
I did. Yeah, towards the end, because that's what I
Yeah,
was facing. So I'm like,
yeah, I
man,
mean, but
I gotta learn how to hit this thing.
you're gonna do that maybe 15% of the time. The other
Correct.
85% of the time, you moving 5 feet away from the batting machine and telling them to turn it all the way up,
Correct.
and you can just all you gotta do is time it coming out. And if you're a little late, you start a little bit earlier. So
Yeah.
everybody want to hit the fastballs.
For sure.
Hell, I hit 2 home runs, and I didn't bat in high school and college. Some dude hit my bat on the fastball. So.
No, this is fantastic, gentlemen, and it is because I think it's useful information. I think it's important information, but it's also the realities that we face. When I'm talking about the realities that we face, when you talk about the college numbers, when you talk about the affiliate baseball numbers and the professional baseball numbers, I want to ask because it also was brought up when we were talking on our podcast on Monday about that veteran status. And especially the veteran status in the higher levels. With again, I want to preference all of this by saying everybody in Major League Baseball, if you make it up there, you're an elite talent. You're the best of the best. It's the top of the line.
Mhm.
But we are starting to see a devaluing, if you will, on the veteran side of the game. And in lieu of, I think there's some business aspects, Coach Weiss, we were talking about this. Veterans get veteran salaries. Veterans with years service, if it comes down to a veteran and a younger player that's under team control for 5 years at 700,000, you know what I'm saying? We start to see the diminishing veteran numbers, which I think is a little bit concerning. But it's also when the world when the world gets a cold, black people get a flu. So what I mean by that is you start to see our veterans, our black veterans, um, out of the game, like somebody at 30 years old that probably still has a couple years of production left. I feel like it gets a little bit tougher. Uh, Lou, when you look at it, you're considered a veteran now, right?
Yeah.
You're a vet. Has it gotten tougher for veterans in general? And then obviously you can speak to your situation of what it was like when you started to get out of team control and
Mhm.
have to deal with the business aspect of that.
Yeah, I mean, one, it goes back to you got to perform, man. You got to perform, regardless of what color you are. I had the chance to make my debut in 2017, get traded to the Marlins, have a nice little 4-year career with them, but I didn't perform the way I should have, and the Marlins let me go, and I ended up signing a minor league deal with the Astros, did well in AAA, got with the Giants, and did okay for the time I was up there. But at the end of the day, you have to perform.
Mm.
You have to put up numbers. You have to be a reason that teams want to keep you on the team. That teams want you out there every day or on the bench. If anything, pitcher, catcher, outfielder, shortstop, it doesn't matter. You gotta put up numbers, and if you don't, you will be out of the game. Um, so I mean, the diminishing veteran, I didn't realize like 29 and 30 was old. And in baseball years, it's like dog years. Like in 29, 30, you're like, dang man, you 30 years old, you all right? Need a
Yeah.
walker? Like it's like you're a young man, you just getting your life
Sneaks up
started.
on you
Really,
quick. Yeah.
you just figured out who you are, really. Um, but I, the veteran aspect in a locker room. I'll give you an example. I had Cameron Maben my first big league season. My first full big league season, I had Cameron Maben. Great veteran. Not just because he's black, but just a great baseball player. With a long career, won a World Series the year prior. Gave us a lot of insights and secrets on how we could get better as a team. And obviously he helped me out through my struggles and my successes and how to handle things and how to do things on the road and how to handle media and how to handle this and family members and all that
Put
kind
you
of
on the
stuff.
game.
Yeah, Cam helped me out a lot, and shout out to Cam, man. I love him to death. He was at my wedding. And then the next year I had Curtis Granderson. I mean, we all know Curtis. Curtis is probably would not kill a cockroach if he saw one in his house. He'd probably just sweep it outside. Like the nicest dude on earth. Gave me a lot of insight on how to treat their coaches, how to be a good clubhouse guy. I mean, Curtis Granderson, arguably Hall of Famer Curtis Granderson, but just an amazing clubhouse guy. And that's kind of diminished a little bit just because I feel like there's just not a lot of, I don't know, just not a lot of guys
Not a lot of
with
there's
veteran
less
status.
vets.
Just
Yeah,
not a lot of
less
veteran
vets.
status guys putting up numbers to stay in the big leagues. And if they are, they're like you said, they're getting pushed out by the guy that's making 700,000 or the rookie sensation or the next prospect that comes up. You just push them out. They're cheaper. The game's getting younger. The fan demographic is getting younger. MLB is trying to promote this younger demographic of fan, and they like the young guys. They like the stolen bases. They like the flashy. They like the chains and the different shoes. And I love it too. It adds
Yeah, I
swag
was
and
gonna
it
say
has.
I'm
Yeah, I
guilty.
love
I
it.
like
I
all of that.
love it. It adds character to the game. I love it, and we're getting a lot of younger crowds and younger people watching baseball, which is great. But that means teams need to put out a younger product because these young guys that that the fans know, these younger fans know, now they're on the field. Oh man, I'm gonna go watch that dude. I've been watching him for a while, or he's the same age as me. I'm gonna go watch him. So it's just a comparable thing, I feel like, but. Yeah, the veteran aspect is almost gone.
Coach Freeman, let me ask you because Lou's exactly right. We see these guys and say we've been watching them for a couple years, and we kind of feel like since they're at this high level, that they're older and more mature than they are. You see a lot of pros, like professional players, come back to you in the off season, work with you. How much is mentoring those players, the players that we would think already have it all figured out? But you know
Mhm.
they don't have it figured out because they're only 22 years old or 23 years old. How important is that? Because again, they may not be getting that veteran leadership in the clubhouse.
Well, I've talked to them about that, and I asked them, "What do you guys do when the game is over with? I mean, do you guys sit in the locker room and talk about the situations, the way the guys pitched you, the way the guys, that you face guys?" And they say, "No. After the game, everybody's gone.
We on the
I
game.
mean, they're
They on the
Mhm.
they're
game, Coach
beating
Alex. They on the
they're
game.
beating the fans out of
No.
the parking lot. That's how fast they getting out of the locker room." So,
Yeah.
I mean, when I was playing, we would talk about the game and let the parking lots empty, let everybody get home. We always had someone that was older than us that would bring us along. You know, "Hey, Rook, we taking you to lunch tomorrow. We need to talk to you about some things that you're doing because this is a profession and there's things
Mhm.
you don't know that you need to learn that you're not going to learn if nobody don't tell you." And
Yeah.
so it kind of gave you an opportunity to learn how to be a professional. A lot of times guys are winging it. They're trying to figure it out on their own and they tripping over some things that's unnecessary for them to be tripping over. I mean, if you got a veteran in the clubhouse, and I understand, with the way salaries is, you're not gonna have a six outfielder. It ain't no more six outfielders coming off the bench
Yeah.
just the pinch hit and be a player coach. That's over with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way this money is going, man, I can understand that. But if you look at the teams that were in the playoffs all the way to the end, they got veteran leadership on the team.
Yeah.
They got guys teaching guys how to play and how to be a professional, how to react to certain on and off the field issues. And those things are very important. And that's why I try to be that type of link or liaison to the younger players, especially the younger pitchers, and having them understand what's really going on behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things they won't be able to understand until after their career is over with because they're not getting that information now. So I'm trying to give them that information now so they can have a decent long career and put in some time so that when it's time for them to pass this information on, they can be passing it along in the clubhouse right now to guys that they're coming in contact with. They may be 1 or 2 years younger than them. So we all need an elder, a mentor, somebody to
Yeah.
teach us. Because if we don't, we're gonna just be doing the same dumb stuff that's unnecessary. That if you could have been told about it, you can avoid it. And I think it's definitely a necessary thing that we're missing in the game. And hopefully it'll get back to it. I'm sure the Latin players they have mentors. I mean, some of them guys are, they've been around a long time, so they got guys on the team that they can talk to. But as far as the African American player, who we gonna talk to?
Yeah.
That's awesome, Coach. Let me.
Mm-hmm.
We coming up upon the hour, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Black Baseball Mixtape Podcast. We are coming at you from now twice a week on the podcast. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow. Make sure you follow Minority Baseball Prospects, Coach Freeman, Lewis Brinson. They're all going to be back as we continue on. Coach Wyche, I want to give you the last word on this particular discussion because I got a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it. Like I said, it started from a conversation we had that was a real flippant question. It was just asked, could black players be mediocre in 2025
Yeah.
in Major League Baseball? Could there be a mediocre black player? And it all went. Look, the comments went to the shade room type category. Everything was going every which way. But I'm gonna ask you, Coach, because the time I've gotten to know you, I know that you never shy away from tough conversations with players or anybody else talking about players. You kind of give them, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is the reality of the situation, and if you want to get to the next level, these are some of the things that you individually are going to have to do. I think about it with the player, and I think about it with the parent, because you have to deal with some parents, or maybe not as much now, but I know you did have to deal with some parents that had delusions of grandeur about the talent and ability of their child. What are those conversations like with the players and also kind of with some of the parents that may think they aren't where they are, or you on the other way, you might have a kid that's really talented that you have to light a fire under, and his parents say, hey, look, he can be somewhere if you push him. But again, those opportunities are only going to come to a few.
Yeah, yeah. For me, man, production solves it all, man. Most of the time, when you see those guys that are successful or in the big leagues, Lawrence Butler, they was dominant from day one, right? Todd Bradley
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a pitcher, but shit, he went 14-0 in high school, right? So I tell parents, man, go off production and see where your kid is. It's always an opportunity to continue to grow and listen to the right people. But if you're not dominating, that's not where you're supposed to be at. If you at a D2 and you're not dominating, you deserve to be at a D2, right? Or a
Yeah.
D3, right? There's always special scenarios where a kid isn't treated just. But again, Marvin Freeman, like, he got an opportunity to get cut and dominated, right? Why he got it? So at some point, um, and and we got to continue to produce. And for parents, put your kids around the right people, right? I think the problem with our black parents, we listen to everybody, and we don't want to listen to the ones who's gonna be stern with you and be honest with you. So stop listening to everybody, listen to the right people, and see who's successful. right? I would be blowing Marvin and all these guys up. I'll be blowing myself up if I see all these guys successful in these situations. But as black people, a lot of times we want to go left because everybody going right. So,
Mm.
um, just just
Mm.
just make sure, man. The path don't change, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times the path don't change. The success path for one is going to be probably the success path for you. All right, so just lock in, dominate, and get around the right people, man. That's my biggest thing. Get around the right people.
100%.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to leave it there. Look, I am extremely pleased and blessed. Coach Weiss was filling in for Coach Reggie at the last minute, so Coach, I really appreciate you doing it. Coach Freeman was going to be filling in for Coach Weiss, but he actually made it, so I appreciate that. Lou, you already know we're gonna be back every week, Lou, talking about different topics as we go through the game, go through the season. The Black Baseball Mixtape crew will be with you every Tuesday. We'll record every Monday night, so make sure you check it out. But we're gonna be in these places, man. I know I always see Minority Baseball Prospects out everywhere, so we're gonna go see them. We're gonna go see Coach. I know you just wrapped up the Dream Series. I'm gonna be down in Vero, I believe, as we move forward. So Players Alliance, Coach with Lou, we're gonna be doing a bunch of stuff as well. So make sure you tap in because there's resources out there, there's information out there. Everybody in this group is doing amazing things. So I want to thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and we'll be back next time.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being here,
Appreciate you
man.
guys.
Appreciate everybody.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, guys.